Arsenal, do not blink now, 6 points. That is all that stands between Arsenal and Manchester City in the Premier League title race with 6 games to go. 6 points feels like a lot until you realise it was 9 points just a few days ago, until you realise that Pep Guardiola and his men are coming, until you realise that the biggest game of Arsenal's season, maybe the biggest game in a generation for this club, is happening next Sunday at the Etihad. So let us sit down, take a deep breath and talk about everything going on right now, because there is a lot to unpack. There is the loss to Bournemouth that nobody saw coming. There is the Man City win over Chelsea that changed everything in one afternoon. There is the Champions League tie in midweek that could either lift Arsenal or drain them completely. And then there is Sunday, the big one, the title decider. This blog is for every Arsenal fan who is feeling a mix of nerves, excitement, fear and hope all at once. You are not alone. Let us walk through it all together. What happened on Saturday and why it hurt so much Arsenal was supposed to win against Bournemouth. That is what made it so painful. On paper, it looked like 3 easy points, a chance to keep Man City at arm's length, a chance to breathe a little easier going into the final stretch of the season. Instead, Arsenal lost 2-1. Bournemouth, who have been solid this season but are not title contenders, came to the Emirates and left with all 3 points. And at almost the exact same time, Manchester City were at home to Chelsea and absolutely took them apart. 3 goals, no reply, clean sheet, dominant from start to finish. By the time Saturday evening settled in, the gap had gone from 9 points to 6, and suddenly the whole mood around the title race changed completely. Can you remember where you were when you saw that scoreline come in? The feeling in your stomach when you checked your phone and saw Bournemouth had held on? That is the moment the title race became real again. Now the pressure is different. Before Saturday, Arsenal were in control. They could afford to drop a few points here and there and still feel safe. Not anymore. Every game from here counts more than the last, and the next game just happens to be against the team chasing them down. Let us talk about Gary Neville and what he said. Gary Neville, former Manchester United captain and one of the sharpest football minds in the country, gave his thoughts on the situation this week. And honestly, it is worth listening to what he had to say because he did not sugarcoat anything. Neville believes Arsenal are suffering from something that has nothing to do with tactics or fitness in the traditional sense. He thinks they are suffering emotionally. And when you hear him explain it, it actually makes a lot of sense. He said that Arsenal losing to Bournemouth was not because they did not want it. It was because they wanted it too much. The desperation, the weight of the moment, the noise around the club, all of that starts to feel heavy. And when things feel heavy, your legs feel heavy too. Suddenly, a team that looked sharp and confident a few weeks ago starts to look hesitant and tight. Think about it for a second. Arsenal have not won the Premier League title in 22 years. 22 years, that is longer than many of their own fans have been alive. The last time Arsenal lifted that trophy, the squad had Thierry Henry, Patrick Vieira and Robert Pires. The world was completely different. And now here they are on the edge of ending that weight, and the weight of all those years is sitting on their shoulders every single time they step onto the pitch. Does that feel familiar to you as a fan? Have you felt it too, that mixture of hope and dread every time Arsenal play right now? Neville described it as the noise around the club taking over, the expectation, the history, the fact that Arsenal have been in a similar position in the last couple of seasons and it did not work out. All of that builds up. And instead of playing with freedom and joy, which is how you play your best football, you start to play with caution and anxiety. That is what he saw against Bournemouth. And that is what Arsenal need to fix before next Sunday. The Champions League in midweek could be a blessing. Here is something interesting that Neville pointed out, and it is something you might not have considered. Arsenal play their Champions League quarter-final second leg at home against Sporting Lisbon on Wednesday night. On the surface, that sounds like more pressure, more stress, more energy spent right before the biggest league game of the season. But Neville actually thinks it could help. He said that if Arsenal had a full week to sit at home and think about the Man City game, it would not be good for them at all. Imagine spending 7 days reading the headlines, watching the clips, listening to every pundit talk about how City are coming for you. That would drive any player mad. Instead, Arsenal get to go out on Wednesday and play football. They get to think about Sporting Lisbon, about pressing high, about scoring goals, about doing what they love. And if they can get through that tie and reach the Champions League semi-finals, they will walk into Sunday with confidence buzzing through the dressing room. There is something powerful about momentum in football. It is not just physical, it is mental. Winning a big game midweek, progressing in Europe, reminding yourself that you are a top team capable of beating anyone on your day, that kind of thing carries you forward. So while the Wednesday fixture looks like added stress from the outside, it could actually be the boost Arsenal need heading into Sunday. What do you think? Do you believe the Champions League game will help or hurt Arsenal going into the City match, the Etihad, Sunday? Everything on the line. Let us talk about the game itself. Arsenal travel to the Etihad Stadium next Sunday, April 19th, with kickoff at 4:30 p.m. It is live on Sky Sports, and it is without question the most important Premier League game Arsenal have played in years. If Arsenal win, they go 9 points clear with 5 games left. At that point, it would take a complete and total collapse for them to lose the title. A win on Sunday would essentially put one hand on the trophy. It would be the moment Arsenal fans have been waiting for. If Arsenal draw, they stay 6 points ahead, but City still have a game in hand. The race continues and nothing is decided. If Arsenal lose, the gap drops to 3 points. City could potentially go level on points with a game in hand, and suddenly everything looks very different. The pressure would be enormous. So yes, this is a massive game. Perhaps the biggest of the season for both clubs, and both teams know it. What Arsenal have going for them, it is easy right now to only focus on the negatives, the Bournemouth loss, the shrinking gap, the weight of expectation. But let us take a moment to look at what Arsenal actually have going for them. First of all, they are still top of the league. 6 points with 6 games to go is still a very healthy lead. Arsenal are in the driving seat. They have not given up control of the title race. They have just let City get a little closer. There is a big difference. Second, Arsenal have already beaten City this season. They know they can do it. It is not some impossible dream. They have gone to the Etihad before or hosted them and come out the other side with a result. That knowledge lives in the dressing room. Players remember those moments. Third, Mikel Arteta is a brilliant manager who prepares for big games extremely well. He came through the Pep Guardiola school of coaching at Man City. He knows how Guardiola thinks, how his teams press, where the spaces are, what the weaknesses look like. If there is anyone who can get Arsenal ready for this game, both tactically and mentally, it is Arteta. And fourth, Arsenal have a squad full of players who care deeply about this club and this moment. You only have to watch how devastated they looked after the Bournemouth loss to see that. These players are not going through the motions. They are hurting right now, and sometimes hurt and hunger together is a powerful thing on a football pitch. What Manchester City have going for them, let us be honest, Manchester City are a frightening team to face right now. They have Erling Haaland, who is quite simply one of the most dangerous strikers the Premier League has ever seen. They have Phil Foden, who can unlock any defence on a good day. They have Bernardo Silva, who works harder and smarter than almost anyone in European football. And of course, they have Rodri in midfield, who controls the tempo of a game like nobody else. On top of all that, they have Gianluigi Donnarumma in goal, who has been outstanding this season. And then there is Pep Guardiola, a manager who lives for these moments, who wins titles like other managers win cups, who has seen his team cut a 9-point gap to 6 in just 1 week and will be absolutely licking his lips heading into Sunday. Neville described it as a near-perfect situation for Guardiola. City at home, the crowd behind them, momentum on their side, and a chance to put the title race right back in the balance in 90 minutes. Guardiola will have his team fired up, focused and ready to go. There is also the fact that City have experience. Most of their key players have won this title multiple times. They know what it feels like. They know how to handle the pressure. That experience is not something you can teach. It has to be lived. Can Arsenal handle the occasion? Can they match City's experience with their own hunger and desire? That is the question. The mental side is everything right now. Neville made a really important point that deserves to be talked about more. He said that Arsenal need to find an emotional balance before Sunday. Not too fired up, not too calm, right in the middle. Playing with passion but not desperation. That is easier said than done, of course, but it is the key. When a team wants something too badly, you can see it in how they play. They rush passes, they take shots too early, they hold onto the ball too long when they should release it. They start arguments with referees over decisions that should not matter. Everything becomes about the result rather than the process. And paradoxically, focusing too hard on the result is often what stops you from getting it. The best performances in football happen when players feel free, when they trust themselves and their teammates, when they play like they did as kids in the playground without worrying about what happens next. Arsenal need to find that feeling on Sunday. They need to walk out at the Etihad and play like they belong there, because they do. They need to be confident without being arrogant, focused without being tense. Arteta will spend all of this week trying to create that environment in training, getting the messages right, keeping spirits up, making sure the squad is together and believing in each other. Do you think Arteta is the right man to get Arsenal in the right headspace for Sunday? Let us know in the comments. What Arsenal need to do to win on Sunday? Let us get practical for a second. What does Arsenal actually need to do to beat Man City at the Etihad? They need to defend as a unit. City will attack with pace and creativity, and they will find spaces if Arsenal are not disciplined and compact. Every player from the front to the back needs to know their defensive shape and stick to it. They need to be brave on the ball. Against City, you cannot just sit deep and try to hold on. Eventually, the pressure becomes too much and you make a mistake. Arsenal are at their best when they are brave, when they play out from the back, when they combine quickly and move the ball with purpose. They need their best players to show up. Declan Rice in midfield needs to be at his absolute best. The forwards need to be sharp and ready to pounce on any chance that comes their way, and they need a bit of luck. That is not a negative thing to say. Every big result in football has a moment where things go your way, a deflection, a save, a decision that falls in your favour. Arsenal need one of those moments on Sunday. Neville says Arsenal will get there in the end. Here is something that might comfort a few worried Arsenal fans right now. Gary Neville, a man who spent his entire career at Manchester United and has no particular reason to back Arsenal, actually believes they will win the title. He thinks they will not make it easy for themselves. He thinks it might go down to the wire. He thinks they might even lose on Sunday. But overall, he believes Arsenal will get over the line. He described it as Arsenal crawling over the finish line, not running, not gliding, but crawling, grinding it out, doing it the hard way. And honestly, maybe that is fine. Maybe that is what winning your first title in 22 years should feel like. Not a comfortable stroll, but a fight, a battle, a moment you earn rather than one that just lands in your lap. Neville also made a point that stuck with him after the Bournemouth loss. He asked whether Arsenal ever really expected Pep Guardiola to just hand them the title. Did they think they were going to sail to the finish line by 26 points and do a victory lap? That is not how football works. That is not how winning works. Titles are won in moments like this. When the pressure is at its highest, when the whole world is watching, when you have a choice between shrinking and rising. This is Arsenal's moment to rise. A message to every Arsenal fan reading this. If you are feeling nervous right now, that is okay. It means you care. It means this matters to you, and it should. This is a massive moment for this football club, but try not to let the nerves eat you up. Arsenal are still in control. They are still top of the league. They have a brilliant manager, a committed squad, and everything to play for. Yes, the Bournemouth loss hurt. Yes, City are getting closer. Yes, Sunday is going to be one of the biggest games in recent Arsenal history, but Arsenal fans have waited 22 years for this. What is one more nerve-shredding week? The players need you. Whether you are in the stadium on Sunday or watching from your living room, your belief matters. The noise you make matters. When Arsenal are under pressure and the crowd lifts them, that is real. That changes games. So stay with them, trust Arteta, trust the process, believe that this squad has what it takes to go to the Etihad and get a result. What do you think is going to happen on Sunday? Are you backing Arsenal to win? Do you think a draw is enough? Or are you preparing for the worst and hoping for the best? Drop your prediction in the comments below. This community has always been about sharing the highs and lows together, and this is definitely one of those moments. Arsenal, 6 points, 6 games left, one chance to make history. Let us go. Final thoughts. This title race is everything football is supposed to be. Dramatic, nerve-shredding, unpredictable, and totally compelling. 2 of the best teams in England fighting it out until the very last moment. Arsenal have done the hard work to get to this point. They were 9 points ahead going into the weekend. They have spent the whole season proving that they belong at the top of English football. One bad result and one strong City performance does not undo all of that. What it does do is make Sunday the most important 90 minutes Arsenal have played in a very long time. Possibly since the Invincibles era, and there is something beautiful about that, even if it does not feel that way when the anxiety kicks in at 2 in the morning. Neville summed it up better than most when he said that this Arsenal team has to go and win a game that shakes the world, a game that makes everyone sit up and take notice, a result that says, yes, we are the best team in England and we are taking what is ours. Sunday at the Etihad, 4:30 p.m, the whole country watching. Arsenal with a chance to take a massive step towards their first title in over 2 decades. It does not get bigger than this. See you on the other side. Written for the Olivia Sports Arsenal community. Stay loud, stay proud. Come on, you Gunners.